What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions for the Showcase of the Immortals WrestleMania. Yes, WrestleMania is finally upon us. Last year's WrestleMania, we had quite the interesting WrestleMania last year. Which the card for last year was, I guess it was kind of stacked. I don't even know I don't really know what to make of it, but it was quite the interesting. It was quite the interesting pay-per-view. I will say we had Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. We had Edge versus Randy Orton in a Last Man Standing match. We had Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair for the NXT Women's title. We had Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler for the Raw Women's title. John Cena versus The Fiend. Goldberg versus Braun Strowman for the Universal title. The Undertaker versus AJ Styles in the Boneyard match. Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens. I believe it was a street fight, if I remember right. Oh, it was a no DQ match. Right, I blanked for a second. King Corbin versus Elias. We had Bayley, Lacey Evans, Tamina, Naomi, and Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's title in a fatal 5-way elimination match. Originally, it was supposed to have been a 6-pack challenge, but I think who was taken out? Dana Brooke. Yeah, I think Dana Brooke was taken out of the card due to an injury or something like that. We had Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental title. We had the Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Austin Theory in replacement with Andrade for the Raw Tag Team titles. We had Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. We had John Morrison, Jimmy Uso, and Kofi Kingston of the New Day in a triple threat ladder match for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. We had Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. We had the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross for the Women's Tag Team titles. And then for the kickoff shows on both nights, we had Liv Morgan versus Natalya, and then Drew Gulak versus Cesaro, which the card was pretty stacked. I must admit, the card may have been stacked, but most of the matches weren't even that good. But this year, I have a feeling this year is going to be different. As of now, there are only 14 matches on the card for this year. I'm pretty sure that by sometime between now and possibly Saturday morning, there'll probably be more, at least maybe 2 more matches. They'll probably end up being at least 2 more matches. To be announced, but we will find out. But first up, we kick things off with the women's, with a tag team turmoil where the winning team will challenge for the women's tag team titles. It will be Lana and Naomi, the Riot Squad, Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, and Natalya and Tamina. I believe night 2 will feature Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler against the winners of the tag team turmoil. Honestly, if there was ever a tag team who I want to see win this turmoil, it's definitely the Riot Squad. But given how many submissions Shayna Baszler uses and how much power Nia Jax uses, you would normally you would have to think, okay, Natalya and Tamina, Obviously, Natalya is a submission specialist in her own right. Tamina, brings the power game. So why not fight fire with fire, But honestly, I gotta go with the Riot Squad on this one. But even if the Riot Squad were to win, win the turmoil, they would have to face Jax and Baszler, which obviously it isn't going to end well because Nia Jax is going to have Reginald in her corner, so that Jax and Baszler are going to retain the titles. Next up, we have Riddle versus Sheamus for the United States Championship. This is a rivalry that's been spewing, I would say, since Survivor Series, like since November, right around there. But this has been brewing for the last like few weeks, and Riddle. I mean, don't get me wrong. Riddle's been quite the interesting. Has been quite the interesting United States champion. But I think I think Sheamus is gonna take it. I think he's gonna win the title. Given the fact that he hasn't been champion in 2 years, he has not been a champion in 2 years. So, will championship rust come into play for Sheamus? Honestly, yes. I think yes, but at the same time, this is Riddle's very first major championship since coming to the main roster last summer, over on, as part of the SmackDown brand, and that could play a big factor going into this matchup, but I'm going with Sheamus on this one. Next up, if you thought that the rivalry was going to end, sadly mistaken. It'll never end between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. It will never end. But we also found out that Sami Zayn has invited Logan Paul, one of the biggest YouTube stars in the game, to be a part of WrestleMania this week, and that could play a big factor going with this matchup. But if Logan Paul, and I'm saying it now because I'm not a big fan of Logan Paul or his brother Jake. I think Jake Paul. If Logan Paul was smart, he would side with Kevin Owens, because Sami Zayn, I believe Logan's right. I believe Logan and Owens are right. Sami Zayn is delusional. He is as delusional as they come, buying into the delusion that management is conspiring against him, but all he's doing is making things worse for him, because the referees, the referees and management are doing their job. The referee's job, when a match is underway, is to call the match down the middle and see if there's anything going on in the match, whether they're using their tights to get leverage, or whether they're using ropes to get leverage, whatever. That's their job. And management is to call things down the middle, make the right decisions that benefits everybody. So Sami Zayn is just being delusional. But I gotta go with Kevin Owens on this one, just because Kevin Owens has beaten Sami Zayn throughout pretty much every single match that these two have been in. Whether it was in WWE, whether it was in NXT, or whether it was elsewhere, Kevin Owens was always the one to beat Sami Zayn. I don't think it's ever going to be different. Next up, we have Big E versus the real Apollo Crews for the Intercontinental Championship in a Nigerian drum fight. Yeah, I guess it's basically a street fight. No countouts, no disqualifications, anything goes. Only way to win is by pinfall or submission. This is something that Apollo Crews has been biting for months now, saying that he deserves to be the Intercontinental Champion, and I agree. Yes, Apollo Crews does deserve it, but not if he's gonna win it in the way that he almost did. I think it was at Fastlane. Yes. At Fastlane, he almost won the title, crazy enough. But this is Big E's first singles championship in, since 2013, if I remember correctly? 2013? I think 2013. So, 2013, 2014, so we'll say 2014, so 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So 7 years, almost. I would estimate about 8 years. His first singles championship in 8 years, and it's the Intercontinental title. I don't think Big E is going to give it up that easily, so I got to go with Big E on this one. Next up, we have a rivalry that's based on respect. literally, that's all it's based off of. It's based off of respect between Seth Rollins and Cesaro. I'm going to be honest here, and I want you guys to comment below if you had the same thoughts that I did. So, if you guys remember, back in January at the Royal Rumble, if you guys remember back in January at the Royal Rumble, Seth Rollins made his return to WWE with his his Messiah theme song, if you guys remember. But when he came back to SmackDown not too long after that, he came back with his Burn It Down theme song, and when I heard that, instantly I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna see the Seth Rollins of old, the Seth that that likes to burn it down. But when he started, preaching about embracing the vision and wanting to be a leader, wishful thinking, right? Comment below if you guys had the same thoughts I did, because I don't think I'm the only one at this point. And Cesaro was thinking the exact same thing, where he thought, oh, we're gonna get the old Seth Rollins back, but we never got it. And if you guys are wondering why I was facing my TV, it's actually because I thought that on a channel called Up Up Down Down, big shout outs to them, I thought that there wasn't going to be an episode of Uno, given the fact that it's WrestleMania week, but there is an episode of Uno, and the title of it is Up Up Down Down Uno, number 55, Uno Karma. Yeah, I can't wait to see that one. If you guys are going to watch that Uno episode, comment below, let me know. I love watching them play Uno. It's absolutely hilarious, especially the fact that especially Xavier Woods, or Austin Creed for that matter, just creeping in, dropping the last card, be like, yep, it's over. So big shout outs to him. And actually I'll be talking about speaking of Austin Creed, I'll be talking about his match later on in this video. But again, Seth Rollins and Cesaro, it's based off of respect. Cesaro knew that Seth hadn't changed, and this rivalry has been brewing over the last couple months, and it's been based on respect. So as far as who wins this one, given the fact that this is Cesaro's singles debut at WrestleMania, his first singles match at WrestleMania, his singles debut at WrestleMania, you would have to think that Seth Rollins may have the advantage, but Cesaro has been in the WWE longer than Seth Rollins, so I gotta go with Cesaro on this one, just based off the experience factor that Cesaro has. Next up, we have TLC all over again. We have The Fiend and Randy Orton. This is actually the first time that Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton have been in the ring together, because if you guys remember, at WrestleMania 33, look how far back that is. Look how far back that is right here. Compared to, hang on guys. Let me put my bookmark on, put the mark on there. So this is the match card for WrestleMania 33. Yeah, that was the match card for WrestleMania 33. I know you guys probably couldn't see it that well, but the card for this night was pretty stacked. You had matches like Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton for the WWE title. You had Goldberg versus Lesnar. You had obviously the main event, Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. You had The Miz and Maurice versus Nikki Bella and John Cena. Seth Rollins versus Triple H in an unsanctioned match. The card for this night was fucking stacked. And the WrestleMania record for that, for the Citrus Bowl, was 75,245. Now, fast forward, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Fast forward 4 years later, and we're now getting The Fiend versus Randy Orton. It's funny because Randy Orton had joined the Wyatt family only to get his hands on Bray Wyatt and the WWE Championship the moment Bray Wyatt became champion at Elimination Chamber. Excuse me. And it's funny because Fastlane 2017 was actually the time where I started subscribing to the WWE Network when it was available in the US, which now it's on Peacock, which I swear, I saw the Hall of Fame last night, and watching it on my laptop here, it was so cringe. It was super cringe, but to be honest, it was kind of fun. It was pretty fun to pay our respects, to the Hall of Fame class of 2020 and 2021. It was awesome. I absolutely loved it. But as far as this match goes, this match has to go to the Fiend because when it comes to WrestleMania and Bray Wyatt's opponent, if he doesn't win the first time, he'll definitely win the second time. It happened last year with John Cena. This year it's gonna happen with Randy Orton. I gotta go with the Fiend on this one. Next up, we have Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon in a steel cage match. This is Shane's first WrestleMania match in 2 years, and his last match was obviously WrestleMania 35, if I remember right? 35? Yeah. Yes, it was WrestleMania 35, and this one was a pretty long-ass card. There was a total of 16 matches on the card that night, compared to last year where we had 18 matches on the card. This year we only have 14. So it begs the question. It begs to wonder if we're going to be getting even more matches over the next few days. If we do, I will. I'll probably do a quick video on it or something like that. I don't know. I'm still thinking about that. But yeah. So this is just based off of Braun Strowman's belief that if you can put your mind to anything, there's nothing you can't do. And Braun Strowman is fighting for those who were bullied and whatnot. I'm saying it now. I'm saying it right now because I was bullied back back when I was a kid. I'm going with Braun Strowman. I think if there's anybody that can shut Shane McMahon up, I think it's Braun Strowman, hands down. And this is a steel cage match, meaning neither Elias nor Jackson Riker can get involved. But even if that was the case, Shane McMahon, when it comes to him and a steel cage, he always finds a way to manipulate the match in his favor. Like if you remember, if you go back to what was it, Money in the Bank? Yeah. So if you go back to Money in the Bank 2019, Shane McMahon told the referee, I don't care if this match is no DQ, if my foot, if my hand or any part of my body is on the rope, you stop the count. Stop the count. I don't care what happens. That's what Shane McMahon did. Abusing his power. This time he has no power whatsoever. Just because he is a McMahon, that doesn't really mean anything. Because he lost his power when he lost to Kevin Owens on the premiere episode of SmackDown on Fox a couple of years ago. So Braun Strowman, I think is gonna win it. And if you want to talk about respect, this match is about respect. The Miz and John Morrison versus Damian Priest and Bad Bunny. Yes, a multi-platinum recording artist, an international sensation, Bad Bunny will be making his in-ring debut this weekend at WrestleMania, as is Damian Priest. As is Damian Priest. Damian Priest is such a skilled athlete. No matter what anybody says, he is such a skilled athlete. And I think with this match, I think it's going to come down to experience. I think it's going to come down to who has the experience, and I think it's going to be Miz and Morrison, just because they know what it's like to be a part of WrestleMania, what it's like to main event WrestleMania, headline WrestleMania, and just be a part of the festivities. Priest and Bunny don't know anything about it, but if they can keep that emotion in check, they've got it made. I think they're gonna. I think Priest and Bunny are gonna win it. Next up, we have a match for the Raw Women's Championship. It is Asuka versus Rhea Ripley, and it's interesting because this is Rhea Ripley's second WrestleMania ever. Last year, she was a part of Night 2 of WrestleMania, and Charlotte Flair ended up making Rhea Ripley tap out to the figure 8 to win the NXT Women's title. This year, she's fighting for the Raw Women's title, and of course, too, Charlotte Flair is going to be missing out on WrestleMania this year because of the fact that she has the pandemic. I'm not saying the actual thing, but you guys get the idea. But this is kind of an interesting matchup because Asuka is more of a submission striker, and Rhea Ripley is all about the power game. So who wins it? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Rhea, but I gotta go with Asuka because nobody's ready for Asuka. Next up, we have the New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos for the Raw Tag Team titles. I swear, to see AJ Styles challenge for Tag Team Gold is absolutely crazy. It is absolutely crazy, but I will say this. When it comes to WrestleMania, over the last several years, AJ Styles has been very impressive. Like when you think about WrestleMania 32, when it was AJ versus Chris Jericho, AJ Styles was nervous. He was nervous, and then of course too. You fast forward, quite a ways, to WrestleMania 33 in Orlando. When AJ Styles beat Shane McMahon. So I believe AJ Styles is 1-1. Let's see, 1-1. 2-1. 3-1. I believe he is 3-2 at WrestleMania. So it's a pretty impressive record. It's a pretty impressive WrestleMania record to have, especially with how long you have been in WWE. That's a pretty good record. So I think it's going to come down to who wants this match more, and I think it's the New Day. Because if the New Day can somehow manage to figure out Omos, they can win. They'll be able to win the tag team title. They'll be able to retain the Raw tag team titles, and I can definitely see that happening. I can definitely see them retaining the titles. Styles and Omos, I don't know if they'll be able to gel together long enough to win the titles, but we will find out. Next up, we have Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. This is Drew's second main event WrestleMania ever. I'm like tripping over the fact that Drew McIntyre has kept all of this momentum and led to this on Saturday. Because sorry guys, I got some kind of my eye. There we go. If you guys remember last year's WrestleMania on Night 2, Drew McIntyre beat Brock Lesnar to become WWE Champion. This will actually be Brock's first WrestleMania. He'll be. This will be the first time that he's out of WrestleMania, because if you guys remember, from 2005 up until 2012, Brock Lesnar was out of WrestleMania, so he missed. A total of 8 WrestleManias. This will be his 9th WrestleMania that he's gonna miss, which is absolutely crazy. But I feel like it's if Brock Lesnar had beaten McIntyre last year, what do you think would have happened? Who knows? But Bobby Lashley as WWE Champion, I admit, I've been wanting to see it for such a long time, but now that I'm seeing it, I want McIntyre to win. I think McIntyre is going to win it, which would obviously prove Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin's theory right, that if it wasn't for them, he would not be WWE Champion. So I got to go with Drew McIntyre on this one. Next up, we have The Boss, Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. One of the big matches for WrestleMania. I mean, given the fact that this is Bianca's first WrestleMania as a competing, I think honestly, I think the thought of being in front of over 40,000 fans, over 40, 50, 60, possibly 70,000 fans, it's gonna get to Bianca. But when you think about Sasha Banks, she has lost every single WrestleMania match that she's been a part of, including WrestleMania 32. She lost. She lost the triple threat match to Charlotte Flair. For the Raw Women's title. She lost. The next year. Which was a fatal 4-way match for the Raw Women's title. The next year, WrestleMania 38 in New Orleans. 34. She lost the Battle Royal, the Women's Battle Royal. 2 years ago, her and Bayley lost the Women's Tag Team titles. Last year, she lost the Fatal 5-Way match for the SmackDown Women's title. Could history repeat itself again? I don't think so, because this is the first time in Sasha's career that she's been able to hold onto a championship for longer than a month. So that could really play a big factor for Sasha. But I mean, I'm a big fan of Sasha, but I got to go with Bianca Belair on this one. All right, guys. Now let me ask you this, because I feel like I'm experiencing it all over again. Does it feel like we're experiencing WrestleMania 30 all over again? I mean, think about it. Edge makes his return to WWE as a babyface. He wins the Royal Rumble as a babyface. Fastlane. Edge hits both Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns with a chair. Daniel Bryan gets pissed off, and the match becomes a triple threat. Roman Reigns, the world champion, is a heel. We are experiencing WrestleMania 30 all over again. This was the exact same thing that happened to Daniel Bryan in New Orleans in 2014. Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of Edge. I will always be a fan of Edge, but I think honestly the Yes Movement will just be way too powerful for Reigns and Edge to overcome, and I think Daniel Bryan is going to win it, because this match is based off of who wants to be champion more. Is it Roman Reigns, Edge? Is it Edge, or is it Daniel Bryan? I think Daniel Bryan wants it more, because this is his last chance ever to be a champion before he hangs up the boots. Because obviously you guys know, if you guys remember the Hall of Fame last night, Brie had mentioned that she has 2 kids, Birdie and of course Buddy as well, and I'm not gonna say anything more about it. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Obviously, there will be more matches on the card announced at some point this week. I'll do like a sort of like a prediction post on Twitter. So you guys can follow me on Twitter. My first Twitter will be in the description. And question of the day: what are your guys' predictions for the card so far at WrestleMania? What are your guys' predictions? Let me know in the comments below. And that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash the thumbs up button if you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more pay-per-view prediction videos, which obviously I do them every single month. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you guys do not miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All the links will be down in the description below. And if you guys have any fan mail that you want to send me and want me to open up on the channel, I am open to all fan mail. My address will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.